Hey there, Tony Polecastro here from Tony's Acoustic Challenge, and today I'm going to share with you 3 different ways to play a G major chord, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you why each of these G chords are extremely important and in what scenario you would use each of these. Because here's the deal. There's kind of this problem, and I ran into it too when I was starting to play guitar, and I still do to a degree, where you're looking at a song, maybe the chord sheet or something like that, and you see the tabs maybe, and it calls for a G chord, and you're like, but wait, that's not the G that I know. Is there more than one G? Well, the answer is yes, there's more than one G, and then that leads to another problem. Well, if there's more than one G, how the hell do I know what G to use? Now, first let me say this. A G is a G is a G is a G. All the G chords that I'm going to share with you in this particular video, all the G chords I'm going to teach you, are all G chords and they will suffice. However, each one has some little different nuances to it that actually make it excel in certain situations, and that's what I'm going to share with you at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's dive into the actual shapes. Okay, so I'm going to name these shapes. These aren't official names. These are just names that I want to share with you that may help you remember each of these different fingering patterns. So the first G shape, G major chord that I'm going to show you is what I like to call the Bluegrass G. Okay, so for this particular shape, your pinky is going to hit the high E string on the 3rd fret, your ring finger, the B string on the 3rd fret, your middle finger will reach up and grab the 3rd fret of the low E string, and your index finger will grab the 2nd fret of the B. Okay, that's a Bluegrass G shape, and there's a quick modification I'll make, and I want to show it to you, is I'll kind of make the angle on my middle finger a little bit more shallow and lift up my index finger, hence muting the A string. Right? So now the chord's going to sound like this. And I'll share with you why I do that here in just a second, but let's move on to the next shape. The next shape I like to call the finger picking G. Okay, so this will have your pinky again on the 3rd fret of the high E string. Your ring finger this time will shoot up to the low E string, 3rd fret, and your middle finger the 2nd fret of the A string. This is what I like to call the finger picking G shape. Okay, easy enough. That's a pretty common one. That's usually what folks learn. There's a couple variations of that, but I'm not going to get into every variation of every G chord here. I'm just going to share with you the 3 ones that I like to use the most, and again, the reasons why they exist. And the 3rd shape I want to share with you is probably, I'll call it the least favorite of all guitar geeks across the land, but it actually has some really powerful uses, and that is the barred G chord shape, where your index finger bars everything from the low E string all the way to the high E string on the 3rd fret. Your ring finger will grab the 5th fret of the A string, pinky finger the 5th fret of the D string, and middle finger the 4th fret of the G string. And that's going to be your G chord, your barred G chord shape. Now, real quickly, if you can't do this full shape, don't worry. You can still reap the benefits of this particular G chord. You can actually tighten it up and just play the high 4 strings, where you'll bar the B and high E on the 3rd fret, middle finger the 4th fret of the G, and ring finger the 5th fret of the D. Or you can play the what we call the power chord version, where it's just focusing on low 3 strings, index finger 3rd fret of the low E, ring finger and pinky finger on the 5th fret of the A and D respectively, and you mute everything else. That has a whole myriad of uses. We're not going to get into those right now. I just want you to know that there are other options than the full barred G that you can still kind of reap those benefits. Now, speaking of benefits, what are the benefits of each of these shapes? Well, let's go back to the beginning, the Bluegrass G, right? And that was this shape that I taught you right off the top of the video. And the reason that I like this shape and the reason I call it the Bluegrass G is because it facilitates bluegrass rhythm rather well. You can do a nice hammer-on from the 2nd to the 3rd fret on the low E string. That's a very bluegrass rhythm pattern. It also lends itself well to kind of adding what I'll call a G punch. It's a very bluegrassy G punch here. And again, that's because I'm lifting up that index finger and muting that A string. So it gives you that rhythmic drive, and then the ability to do that G punch. And it also kind of opens you up to be able to do other licks easily from that G chord position. In fact, you can do that entire G run without lifting up your pinky or your middle finger. Now there's another secret reason I like this Bluegrass G shape is that usually the G chord's made up of 3 notes, the G, B, and the D. Well, in this particular shape, if you mute that A string and fret that 3rd fret of the B, we're taking out the B note of the G chord, so it has a little bit more of a solid feeling, it's a little bit more powerful because it doesn't have that 3rd in it. That's with the 3rd, and then without the 3rd. So that's the Bluegrass G shape and some of the uses that it excels at. Now let's look at the finger-picking G, and this is the second shape that I taught you, and it looks like this. And the reason I like to use this shape is because it allows my pinky and my index finger to move and find melody notes on the high E, the B, and even the G string. Check this out. So if I'm finger picking, I have that index finger just kind of hanging out. Well, I can quickly move to that G7, and then I can use that pinky to navigate the B string and grab other melody notes on that, and even the index finger. So that particular shape allows the fretting fingers a little bit more freedom. So again, while you're finger picking, you can actually find other melody notes. So there's a use for that shape. And the last shape that I want to share with you the uses for is that bar chord. And you think, well, God, that bar chord is so damn tough. How are there any uses for it? Well, the bar chord allows you a certain tonal offering to a song, and it gives you control over the sustain of the strings. This is really crucial, because if you're doing some sort of, so let's say it's like a heavy rhythm that involves some muting, the bar chord acts like a button. You can push it down, you get sound. As soon as you relieve pressure, it's muted. So you can actually add that mute to your rhythm pattern, something like this. That's something the bar chord will offer you that the open chords won't. So bar chords actually do have some advantages. And both of those modifications that I mentioned on that barred chord, that barred G chord, will allow you to incorporate that kind of rhythmic percussion, even the high 4 strings, or even the power chord part, the power chord version, the low 3 strings. So there you go, 3 different G chords with 3 very specific uses. Bottom line, a G is a G is a G. But I want you to find one that's comfortable for you, that allows you to play the way that you like to play. So I really hope this tip gave you a little dose of daily progress in your playing. And if you're looking for a consistent dose of daily progress in your playing, I really want you to check out Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Just click out the click the checkout and click the link in the video here or in the description below. You can learn more about Tony's Acoustic Challenge, and if it resonates with you and if it sounds fun, I want you to request your invite today. Go ahead and click the link, and I'll see you over there.